Eleanor Mitchell's knees hit that frozen platform hard, the telegram slipping from her fingers. Through her tears, the words cut deep. Marriage canceled. He'd found someone better. She'd come 3,000 miles, spent her last dime. Now her mama's wedding dress was ruined in the snow. Just 24 and all alone, the man she'd trusted for 2 years broke her with 11 short words. She couldn't move, couldn't even breathe. And that's when she heard the little kids crying. Now, before we see what happens next, I want you all to subscribe to our channel. Stick with Eleanor's story till the end, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm mighty curious how far this story travels. That cold was seeping right through her silk dress. Eleanor's fingers were numb. All she felt was the awful, crushing weight of his words. Found someone better. A station hand's voice finally cut through her pain. "Miss, you can't stay there." She looked up and saw the pity in his eyes, and something inside her just broke. "I'm fine," she lied, her voice barely a whisper. "I just need a minute." But she had no money for a ticket home, no family to go back to, nothing but a trunk full of dreams and a dress that now felt like a burial gown. She shakily got to her feet, grabbing a post as the world spun all around her. Then she heard it, two little voices crying out, cutting through all the station noise. "Papa, I'm scared. Where's Mama?" Eleanor turned right toward the sound. Through the snow, she saw two little girls, maybe 4 or 5, with wild copper-colored hair. They were running every which way, their little boots slipping and sliding on the ice. A tall man in a worn rancher's coat was trying his best to wrangle them. He looked plumb tuckered out and panicked. "Aurora, Adeline, you stop right now." But they just kept on running. Then one of them slipped on a slick patch of ice. She went down hard, and her scream cut right through the air. Eleanor just started running. Her dress dragged through the slush as she ran and knelt right beside the little girl. She didn't even notice the cold. "Shh, sweetheart, let me see that." The little girl's big blue eyes were full of tears. Her tiny hands were all scraped up. "It hurts," she cried. "I know, darling," Eleanor said, pulling out a handkerchief. It was the one she'd carefully embroidered for her own wedding day. She gently wrapped the girl's hands. The father finally caught up, the other twin under his arm. He was all out of breath. "Aura, are you all right?" Then he saw Eleanor and just stopped talking. He saw her tear-streaked face, her ruined dress, and her hands turning blue. "Ma'am, I am grateful for your help." Eleanor replied, "She just scraped her palms. They just need a good cleaning is all." The man and the other twin knelt down. Adeline knelt by her sister. The man's rough work hands were surprisingly gentle. "Thank you, miss," he said, checking the scrapes. "I am mighty grateful." He looked at her more closely. "Pardon me, ma'am, but are you all right?" Eleanor finally broke down and sobbed. "I am fine," she lied poorly. The two little girls just stared at her with wide, worried eyes. "Why is she crying, Papa?" Adeline asked. "Hush now," he said softly. He sounded bone-tired, a feeling Eleanor knew all too well. "Is her dress dirty?" Aurora added. "Girls, that is enough," their father said, standing up. He lifted Aurora, giving Eleanor a look of pure, simple understanding. "I am Caleb Thornton. These are my girls. Our ranch is 15 miles north." Eleanor wiped her eyes. "Eleanor Mitchell, I was supposed to be—" Caleb's eyes fell to the telegram at her feet, and his whole expression changed. He recognized her pain right away. "That came while you were on the train," he said. It was not a question. Eleanor just nodded, tears flowing. "Low-down snake," Caleb muttered. "Pardon my language, ma'am. A man like that is not worth a dime." "Papa said a bad word," Adeline piped up. "Sorry, honey, do not repeat it." He looked at Eleanor, his own blue eyes holding an old familiar pain. "Miss Mitchell, do you have folks here? Anywhere to go?" She simply shook her head. "I have nothing. I spent it all on this journey." The cold wind howled around them. The twins shivered. Caleb looked like he was wrestling with a tough decision. After a long moment, he finally spoke up. "Miss Mitchell," he began, "I do not like asking for help, and I certainly do not mean to impose on a stranger." He adjusted Aurora in his arms. "But I am desperate. The girls lost their mama 18 months ago. A fever took her. Now I am trying to run a ranch and raise them, and I am failing at both." Eleanor blinked through her tears. I do not understand what you mean. I have had 3 nannies quit this last year, Caleb continued. One said my girls were wild. The second ran off with my foreman. The last one only made it 2 weeks. Papa, Aurora cried, hiding her face. No more mean ladies. He kissed her hair. I know, darling. He looked to Eleanor. My girls need someone. Someone patient, who can teach them to smile again. Miss Mitchell, I ain't asking you to marry me, Caleb rushed out, his face red. That's not what this is. I am offering you a job, room, board, and fair pay. It is all respectable. Our cook, Mrs. Chen, is there. Eleanor just stared, wind whipping her ruined dress. She was frozen numb. You do not know me, she finally said. I could be anybody. You are the woman who ran into a blizzard for my child, Caleb replied. You used your wedding handkerchief on her hands without a second thought. You might be exactly what my girls need. Aurora then looked up from her father's shoulder. Her hopeful eyes broke Eleanor's heart. Are you coming home with us, pretty lady? Eleanor felt something crack open inside her. She was already broken. This was different. This felt like a little bit of light finding its way through the shattered pieces. I need time. Caleb nodded, eyeing the sky. The storm is getting worse. Last train is gone, and the boarding house owner, Mrs. Patterson, is mighty particular. And ma'am, forgive me, but you look like you have been through it. She looked down at her torn, muddy dress and her messy hair. Her face was raw from the wind and her tears. Mrs. Patterson would just slam the door. I have no money for it anyway, she admitted. Then come with us, Caleb insisted. Just for the night. Get warm and have a meal. I will help you tomorrow. No strings attached. The 2 little girls were looking right at her. Their identical faces held such desperate hope. How long had it been for them? How long since a lullaby? 18 months, he had said. 18 months without their mama. Eleanor thought of her own mother, gone 5 years now, and felt that old ache. She knew that empty space. She had tried to fill it with the promise of marriage. That promise was now just ash. All right, one night, she heard herself say. Relief washed over Caleb's face. Thank you, ma'am. You will not regret this. As they walked to the wagon, Adeline took Eleanor's cold hand. Your hands are like ice. Mama's hands got cold too, the little girl said. I was her hand warmer. Eleanor's throat tightened. That is a very important job, she whispered, squeezing the small hand. Caleb loaded the trunk, moving fast against the howling wind. Aurora was already settled on the wagon, all bundled up. Eleanor looked at little Adeline, a child offering comfort while her own heart was surely breaking. I would like that very much, Eleanor whispered. Adeline gave a real smile, the first one Eleanor had seen on either of the twins. It lit up her whole face. Aura, Adeline called out. The nice lady's staying with us. Caleb helped Eleanor onto the wagon bench, his hand steady on her arm. Up close, she saw the deep weariness in his eyes, the gray streaked in his hair, and the calloused hands of a hard-working man. He had the weight of the world on him, but he still made room for her. 15 miles, he said, taking the reins. Gonna be a cold one, girls. Y'all get under that blanket now. As they lurched forward, Eleanor pulled Adeline close, using her ruined wedding gown for a little extra warmth. Aurora scooted right over against her other side. In no time, both girls were sound asleep against her. Caleb glanced over, his whole face softening. They trust you, he said low. They don't do that easy anymore. Children can often see what adults miss. Eleanor nodded. I taught at a girls' school for 3 years back in Philadelphia. Caleb's eyebrows went up. A school teacher? Well, I'll be. I don't believe in luck anymore, Mr. Thornton. Call me Caleb. I reckon I lost faith in it too after Sarah passed on. He was quiet a long moment, with just the sound of the wheels on snow. I stood on that platform today, watching my girls run wild. I knew I was failing them in ways their mama never would have. He didn't have to finish. And then I showed up, she said. A crying mess, and the first thing you did was help a child. Caleb just shook his head. If that ain't something bigger than luck, I don't know what is. They rode in silence for a while. The storm got worse, the snow falling so thick, but Caleb drove on like a man who knew this land in his bones. Tell me about them. Eleanor finally said. The girls. Caleb's face softened again. Aurora's the older one by about 2 minutes. She's the brave one, runs right at trouble. Broke her arm last summer, climbing the barn to see a sunset. And Adeline, oftwine, she has the tender heart. Feels everything way too deep. After Sarah died, Aurora threw fits. Adeline just went quiet. Stopped eating. Scared me half to death. Their quiet now is worse than their tantrums ever were. Caleb's jaw tightened. The last governess, Mrs. Harmon, said the girls were disturbed. She wanted to send them to an institution back east. Eleanor's anger flared. She sounds like a woman who's never lost a thing. My thoughts exactly, he said. Children grieve differently, Caleb. They don't have the words for their pain, so it comes out in other ways. It just means they're human. A flicker of hope showed in his eyes. You really were a good teacher. Before she could answer, the wagon crested a hill. Through the snow, she got her first look at the Thornon Ranch. It was a large log house with smoke rising from the chimney. But it was not the size that struck Eleanor. It was the warm light. The windows glowed like a promise. Home, Caleb said with pride. It isn't city living, but it is beautiful, Eleanor interrupted, and she meant it. As they pulled in, the front door flew open. A small, older Chinese woman hurried toward them, wrapping a shawl around her. Mr. Caleb, you're late. I was worried sick. She stopped short, seeing Eleanor. And who is this? Mrs. Chen, this is Miss Eleanor Mitchell. She is going to stay a while. Caleb lifted the sleeping twins. She will be helping with the girls. Mrs. Chen's eyes saw the ruined dress. She saw the tear-stained face. But unlike others, there was no judgment. Her gaze held only understanding. Come inside, miss, Mrs. Chen said warmly. She helped Eleanor down. You look frozen solid. I have soup on the stove. Thank you, Eleanor whispered. Inside, the warmth was like a physical embrace. She had not realized how cold and numb she had become until that moment. Caleb carried the girls upstairs while Mrs. Chen guided Eleanor to the fire. Sit down. I will bring you soup and find you something warm to wear. Mrs. Chen shook her head. Miss, for whatever happened today, I am so sorry. The simple kindness was too much. Eleanor had held herself together all day, but this compassion from a stranger undid her completely. She began to cry. Great, racking sobs shook her as all the pent-up grief poured out. Mrs. Chen just sat quietly, holding Eleanor's hand as she cried. Caleb saw them there, a heartbreaking picture by the fire. He watched for a moment, then slipped away to his study. He wanted to give her space, but he could still hear her soon, and her pain started to break through his own defenses. Much later that night, Mrs. Chen helped Eleanor get settled by the fire. The girls are awake, she said softly. They're asking for you. Eleanor was surprised. They're worried you might leave, Mrs. Chen added. I'll go see them, Eleanor said, getting up right away. Mrs. Chen tried to protest, but Eleanor was already heading for the stairs. Mrs. Chen showed her to the girls' room with its flower-painted door. Two little girls with wine-blue eyes were waiting up in their beds. You stayed, one whispered. I stayed, Eleanor promised, sitting down. The twins immediately scrambled into her lap, hugging her tight. Will you sing Mama's song? Adeline asked softly. Eleanor knew the mockingbird song. Her own mother sang it to her. She began to sing softly, and the girls soon drifted off to sleep. Their little bodies grew heavy and peaceful in her arms. After the song, she gently tucked them into their beds. She kissed their foreheads and whispered, Good night, little ones. When she turned, Caleb was standing quietly in the doorway. No one has sung to them since Sarah, he said in a low voice. A governess told them they were too old. No one's too old for comfort, she replied. Caleb nodded, then reminded her, You can still leave tomorrow. Eleanor looked over at the two sleeping little girls. She saw how much these children needed someone to depend on. They needed patience and love, something constant in their lives. And she realized she needed something to pour her heart into too. I'll stay for 2 weeks, she said, surprising even herself. A real trial. A wave of relief and even hope washed over Caleb's face. 2 weeks, he agreed. Please call me Eleanor, she insisted gently. If I'm going to be staying here. Eleanor, he repeated, and the soft way he said her name sent a surprising warmth right through her. That night in the little guest room under a handmade quilt, She listened to the house settle. Eleanor lay awake for a good while with the wind howling like a lone coyote outside. Just 24 hours ago, her whole life was planned out, all leading to a wedding. Now that future was just smoke, gone after 11 words on a piece of paper. But in its place, something else was taking root. Two little girls who needed her, a grieving father who reached out for help, and Eleanor, hurt and lost, was somehow starting to hope. The storm outside was getting worse, and tomorrow was a mystery, full of doubt. But tonight, for the first time in a long, long time, Eleanor Mitchell finally slept with a peaceful heart. Morning came too quick, with the sound of little feet thundering past her door. Mrs. Chen's voice called after the twins, and for a second, Eleanor forgot where she was. Then it all came back. The telegram, the train station, and this family in need. She sat up slow, her body aching from the long, cold day before. The storm had passed, leaving everything outside covered in a quiet blanket of white. A soft knock came. "Miss Eleanor?" Mrs. Chen's voice was kind. "Breakfast is soon. The girls are asking for you." "I'll be right down." Eleanor quickly dressed in the simple gray wool dress Mrs. Chen had left for her. She figured it must have belonged to Sarah. It was warm, and that was all that mattered in Farm. When she got downstairs, she walked straight into a ruckus. Aurora was standing on a chair. She was trying to reach a jam jar on the highest shelf, while Adeline cried in a corner. The little girl clutched a doll with a missing arm, and poor Caleb was trying to manage it all while burning something on the stove. "Aurora Thornton, you get down from there this instant." "But I want jam, Papa." "Your sister is upset. Don't you care?" "She's always crying," Aurora mumbled back. Eleanor cleared her throat softly. All three of them stopped and turned to look at her after Aurora froze on the chair and Caleb's face turned red. But little Adeline ran right to Eleanor. She threw her tiny arms around her legs. "My dolly's broke," she sobbed into Eleanor's skirt. "Aurora said she's garbage now." Eleanor knelt, gently holding Adeline's tear-streaked face. "May I see the dolly?" Adeline held out the little toy. The arm was just loose at the seam. The stitching had worn thin from being loved so much. "Why, this is an easy fix," Eleanor said calmly. "I can mend her this afternoon." Adeline's eyes grew wide. "You can fix her? For real?" "Really? I am quite handy with a needle." Eleanor looked at Aurora on the chair. "And you, little lady, please get down from there before you take a tumble." Aurora paused, not used to being told what to do so calmly. "Now, please." Eleanor's voice was firm. Aurora climbed down, her face sour but doing as she was told. "I just wanted some jam," she mumbled. "Then you should have asked proper, not climbed the furniture." Eleanor stood, her hand on Adeline's shoulder. "Mrs. Chen said no jam, but if you both behave for breakfast, we can talk about having some with lunch." The twins gave each other a look. The kind sisters share. "You promise?" Aurora asked, still not sure. "I do not make promises I cannot keep. I said we can discuss it. That means you eat your breakfast without a fuss and be kind to everyone. Then we will talk about jam." Caleb just stared at her. He looked like he'd just seen a magic trick. The smell of burning food hit him, and he grumbled, rushing to pull a black pan from the stove. "Mr. Caleb, I told you I would handle breakfast," Mrs. Chen said, coming in with eggs. "You have burned the bacon again." "I was trying to help. You help by checking the cattle. I help by cooking food folks can actually eat." Eleanor could not help but smile. There was a real warmth between Caleb and his cook. You could tell they had been through a lot together. Caleb saw her smile and his tired face softened. "I see you already have a handle on them," he said, stepping closer. "How did you do that?" "Children need boundaries, even when they fight them. It makes them feel safe." Caleb was quiet. He thought about that. Sarah always said something like that. "I am just now starting to understand." The mention of his late wife hung in the air. Eleanor was not sure what to say, so she just nodded and looked back at the twins, who were sitting like perfect little angels at the table. Breakfast was simple eggs, toast, and oatmeal. The girls ate without a word, their eyes glancing at Eleanor, checking to see if she noticed how good they were being. She did. After they finished, Aurora asked about the jam. "You both did very well at breakfast," Eleanor told them with a smile. "I will speak to Mrs. Chen about jam for lunch." The girls beamed. Caleb stood up and reached for his coat. I need to ride out and check the herd after that storm. He paused and looked at Eleanor. Will you be all right here with them? We will be fine. I thought we might start some lessons this morning, if that is all right. Caleb looked surprised. Lessons? Reading, writing, and some numbers? You said you wanted them to have an education. I did. I just did not figure you would start so soon. Eleanor shrugged. No time like the present. Something flickered in Caleb's eyes. You're something else, you know that? The kind words made her cheeks warm. She looked down. I'm just doing what needs to be done. And that's what makes it special. He tipped his hat. I'll be back round midday. Mrs. Chen can find me if need be. When he left, Eleanor saw the twins just staring at her. Their expressions were identical. Papa looked at you funny, Aurora said, like he looks at Mama's picture. All soft and sad. Eleanor's heart gave a lurch. She did not know how to answer that, so she changed the subject. All right, who wants to show me what y'all can read? That morning flew right on by. For all their wildness, those little girls were sharp. Aurora could read, but she rushed it. Adeline was slower and much more careful. She sounded out every single word. Their numbers were a little shaky, though. Adding and subtracting was still a puzzle, and their handwriting was a real mess. My hand's getting tired, Aurora complained. Well, then we'll just practice in short spells. A little each day. Mama used to say that, Adeline said quietly, about the piano. Eleanor paused. Your mama played piano? Both girls nodded toward a dusty corner. A piano was sitting there under a sheet. Papa covered it, said the music made him too sad. Eleanor looked at that covered instrument and felt a familiar kind of ache. After her own mother passed, her daddy had packed up all of her things. He thought hiding them would stop the hurt. It never works. It just makes things louder. Well, maybe one day, Eleanor said gently, your papa will be ready to hear music again. Aurora shook her head hard. He's never ready. His eyes are sad even when he smiles. Children see everything, don't they? Grief just takes its own sweet time, Eleanor said. What's grief? Adeline asked. It's the big sad you feel when someone's gone for good. Adeline thought on it. Like Mama? Exactly like that. Do you have grief, Miss Eleanor? The question took her by surprise. She looked into Adeline's honest blue eyes. There was only curiosity there. Yes, she admitted, I do. Who went away? My mama and papa. A long time ago now. The twins shared a silent look. Then you understand, Aurora said. The other ladies didn't. They got mad we were sad, told us we should be over it by now. A hot flash of anger went right through Eleanor for those women. You never have to be over loving someone, she told them, her voice firm but kind. The sadness just gets easier to carry, and that's all right. It means your love was real. Her lap without even asking. After a second, Aurora moved closer too, leaning right on Eleanor's arm. The three of them sat like that, finding comfort in just being near. Caleb came home at noon, his face chapped from the cold and his coat covered in snow. He stopped dead when he saw Eleanor on the floor with the twins, a book open between them. The Snow Queen, Aurora announced. Miss Eleanor is reading it to us. It is about a girl saving her friend from an ice witch. Gerda is very brave, Adeline added. She walks for miles to save Kay. Caleb took off his coat and sat in his old armchair. For a few minutes, he just listened to Eleanor read, her voice carrying the story. When she paused, Aurora immediately begged for more. After lunch, Eleanor said, we have a deal about jam, remember? The girls scrambled up and ran for the kitchen. Caleb stayed put, just watching Eleanor with a look she could not figure out. You are good with them, he said quietly. Real natural. I taught children for 3 years. I know how they think. It is more than that. Caleb leaned forward. The other women, they tried to control the girls. You are different. You are actually connecting with them. Eleanor closed the book. Your daughters are not wild, Caleb. They are grieving and scared and testing everyone to see who will stay. Every time someone new leaves, it just proves their worst fear is true. Caleb flinched. I had not thought of it that way. Children rarely have the words for their feelings. They show you with how they act. Aurora's running and breaking rules, and Adeline's tears. It all comes from the same place, fear. So how do I fix it? The rawness in his voice made Eleanor's heart ache. He was a man who lost his wife, raising two little girls alone, running a whole ranch, and still feeling like he was failing them. You can't fix grief, she told him gently. You just have to be there. Be steady. Show up every day. In time, they will learn to trust again. Caleb was quiet for a long time. His voice came out rough. After Sarah died, I wanted to just disappear. But I had the girls and the ranch, so I just kept going, one foot in front of the other. That is all anyone can do. She met his gaze. You understand? You really understand? I told you I have lost people too. Caleb nodded slowly. The man who sent that telegram, the one you were gonna marry, tell me about him. The question surprised Eleanor. Most folks avoided the subject, but Caleb asked like he really wanted to know. His name was Thomas Welling. We met through a friend in Philadelphia. He was handsome and charming and said all the right things. She took a breath to steady herself. We wrote letters for 18 months. He told me about his business and the life we would build. I believed him, so I sold everything I had for a train ticket. After a 3,000-mile trip, a telegram at the Cheyenne station said he had found someone better. Caleb's jaw was tight. Do you know who? No, and I don't want to. Eleanor clasped her hands. Truthfully, Thomas did me a favor, finding out what he was really like before the wedding. But the humiliation of it all, the waste. You deserved a whole lot better, Caleb said firmly. Maybe I was just foolish, trusting a man I had never met. Hope is never foolish, Caleb's voice was fierce, and neither is believing someone who says they love you. The fault is his, not yours, never yours. His strong defense of her was a surprise. She saw real anger in his eyes, all for her. Thank you for that. I meant every word. He got up fast like he was embarrassed. I ought to wash up. The girls will want their jam. He left, and Eleanor sat there for a minute, just thinking about what he'd said. Caleb Thornton was not at all what she had expected. He was rough on the outside, tired from grief and hard work. But under all that, he had a good heart and a powerful sense of loyalty. Dangerous traits, she thought, the kind that could make a woman lose her senses. She shook it off and went to help Mrs. Chen with the table. The days soon fell into a comfortable rhythm. Mornings meant lessons in reading, writing, and numbers. Eleanor also insisted on good manners. She taught them how to ask for things properly, not just demand them. The twins, especially Aurora, fought her on it at first, but Eleanor was patient and consistent, just like she told Caleb he needed to, and slowly, things began to change. By the 5th day, Aurora wasn't climbing on the furniture anymore. By the 7th, Adeline ate her vegetables. By the 10th day, both girls said please and thank you without anyone having to remind them. It's a miracle, Mrs. Chen said as she watched the girls carefully set the dinner table. I never thought I'd see the day these two acted like young ladies. They are not different children, Eleanor said. They are just the same children who now know what is expected of them. Same difference. It's a miracle. Caleb started to notice the changes too. He began coming in from the range earlier, spending his evenings listening as Eleanor read to the girls. Sometimes he was so worn out he would fall asleep in his chair. Eleanor would just put a blanket over him. One night he woke up as she was tucking the blanket around his shoulders. Sorry, he mumbled, trying to sit up. I didn't mean to fall asleep. You needed the rest. Just stay put. But he was already getting to his feet. He ran a hand through his messy hair. I should be the one putting them to bed. They're already asleep, she said. I told them a story about a princess who was able to tame a wild Mustang. Caleb smiled, and Eleanor was struck again by how kind his eyes were. How different he looked when he smiled, like a younger, lighter man. Wild Mustangs, he said again. They'll be wanting to ride those unbroken horses tomorrow. I told them princesses have to train for years to do that, and only the best-behaved little girls are ever allowed to even try. Then he let out a real warm laugh. Eleanor had never heard that sound before. You're a clever one, he said. I sure do like that. His words just hung there in the air between them. Eleanor felt her cheeks flush. I should turn in. It's late. Eleanor, wait. She stopped on the stairs. He was looking at her with that serious gaze she'd seen before, the same way he watched his daughter sleep. The 2 weeks are about done, he said. Have you decided what you want to do? Her heart hammered in her chest. She had been trying not to think about it. She was just taking it one day at a time. But the honest truth was, she did not want to leave. Not the ranch, not the twins, and not Caleb, though she was scared to admit that even to herself. "I'd like to stay," she said quietly, "if that's all right with you." Relief washed right over his face. "It's all right. I mean, the job is yours as long as you want it." Eleanor just nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Caleb took a small step her way, then stopped. "You've given my girls something I couldn't give them. Hope, feeling safe, a reason to smile again." He swallowed. "You've given me those things too. Caleb, I know this is all too soon. You came here to get away from a broken heart, and I know that. The last thing you need is a grieving man making things messy." He held up a hand. "I am not asking for anything. I just want you to know how much you matter to all of us here." Tears started to well up in her eyes. After Thomas's cold letter, after all that shame, she had believed she was worth nothing at all, that she was easy to toss aside. But this kind, grieving man was looking at her like she was precious. "Thank you," she whispered. "That means more than you'll ever know." She rushed up the stairs before she did something foolish, like closing the space between them and kissing him. In her room, she sat on the bed, her face burning. This was a dangerous feeling. She was vulnerable and he was lonely, and this whole situation could lead to heartbreak. She should just pack up and leave, protect her own heart. But when she thought about Aurora's fiery little spirit and Adeline's sweet heart, she just couldn't. When she thought of the light finally coming back to Caleb's sad eyes, she couldn't go. Lord help her. She couldn't leave. The next morning, Eleanor woke to Adeline's sweet face just inches from hers. "Miss Eleanor, please wake up." Eleanor sat straight up, her heart pounding. "Honey, what's wrong?" "It's Aurora. She's sick. She's hot and won't wake up right." A cold fear washed over Eleanor. She tossed the blankets off and ran to the girls' room with Adeline behind her. Aurora was lying in bed, her red hair damp with sweat. Her little face was flushed with fever. When Eleanor touched the child's forehead, she pulled back from the heat. "Mrs. Chen!" she shouted. "I need cold water and cloths now." Mrs. Chen glanced in the doorway, saw Aurora, and quickly hurried away. Moments later, Caleb came running up the stairs. "What in the world is going on?" He saw Aurora and his face turned pale. "No," he whispered, "not this. Not again." "She has a fever," Eleanor said, her voice steady. "We need to get her cooled down." But Caleb did not seem to hear her. He just stared at his little girl, frozen with terror. "Sarah started just like this, with a fever." He could not even finish the thought. Eleanor grabbed his arm. "Caleb, you look at me." He finally tore his eyes away. "This is not the same thing. Aurora is young and she is strong. Little kids get fevers. We will get her cool, give her some water, and she is going to be just fine. Do you hear me?" Her fierce words seemed to cut through his panic. He took a long, shaky breath. "What can I do to help?" she asked. "Go send for the doctor, then come right back." Caleb nodded and ran. The next few hours were a blur of cold towels, sips of water, and old prayers Eleanor had long forgotten. Aurora would wake and sleep, sometimes crying for her mama, other times lying terribly still. Adeline would not leave her sister's room. She sat in a corner, holding her little rag doll. She just watched with wide, scared eyes. "Is Aurora going to heaven, like Mama?" she asked. Eleanor's heart just broke. She left Aurora for a moment to wrap Adeline in a hug. "No, sweetheart. Aurora is going to stay right here. She is going to get all better, I promise you." It was a promise she couldn't keep, but one the little girl needed. The doctor showed up near dark, an older fellow with kind eyes. He got right to work. He checked Aurora carefully while Caleb paced in the hallway. "The flu," the doctor said finally. "A bad case, but nothing we have not seen before. Keep her cool and give her water. Let her rest. The fever will break in 2 or 3 days." "She'll live?" Caleb's voice cracked. The doctor nodded. "I have seen much worse. Your daughter is a tough little thing. She will pull through." The relief in that room was something you could feel. Eleanor leaned against the wall. Mrs. Chen cried softly, and Caleb fell into a chair and put his face in his hands. After the doctor left, Eleanor found Caleb in the hall, just staring. She is going to be all right, she said softly. I know, he said, Alhedan, his eyes all red. When I first saw her lying there, so hot and still, I thought I was being punished, that God was taking another person that I love away from me. Eleanor sat down beside him. You are not being punished. Sometimes good people just get sick. It is not a judgment. I know that in my head, but when it is your own child, he shook his head. I cannot lose them, Eleanor. I cannot lose anybody else. She did not even think. She just took his hand. You will not, she said. I am here. I am not going anywhere. He looked down at their hands, then up into her eyes. Something passed between them. It was a promise, something deeper than any words. Neither of them let go. Aurora's fever broke 2 days later. It was just like the doctor said. She woke up hungry and cranky, which Mrs. Chen said was the best sign of all. A fussy kid's a healthy kid, the cook chuckled, making some broth. It's the quiet ones you worry about. Eleanor stayed right by Aurora's bedside, reading her stories and playing little games. Caleb took the night watch, often nodding off in the chair right next to her bed. Soon, Aurora was sitting up and demanding jam. Eleanor smiled. I reckon we can manage that. That night, with the house all quiet, Caleb found Eleanor in the parlor. She was just looking at the covered piano. Sarah played it so well, he said softly. Hymns and old songs. The girls would dance while she played. You mind if I take this off? Caleb paused for a moment, then reached out and pulled the dusty cloth away. It's out of tune, he said. Been sitting for 18 long months. Eleanor sat and gently touched a key. The sound was off, but the piano was a good one. I could fix it, she offered. My daddy taught me how. It's what he did for a living. Caleb just stared. You're full of surprises. Is that a yes? He sat down close beside her, their shoulders touching. That's a yes, she smiled. She played a simple scale to test the keys. The notes were wrong, but underneath you could hear the music waiting. Just like this family, she thought. Damaged, but not broken. Just waiting for a patient hand to make it right. She glanced at Caleb and saw him watching her. It made her heart skip a beat. No one said a word. They did not have to. Some things do not need words. 3 weeks later, Eleanor played a beautiful melody on the newly tuned piano. The sound filled the whole house, chasing away 18 months of silence. Adeline appeared first, drawn by the music. She stood in the doorway, her eyes wide. That's Mama's song, she whispered. Eleanor's hand stopped. Oh, I'm so sorry. Mrs. Chen taught it to me. She didn't say. No, keep playing, Adeline said, climbing onto the bench. Please, I want to remember. So Eleanor played again, softly this time, watching the little girl's face. Adeline closed her eyes, lost in the memory. Then Aurora and Caleb came into the room. They all stood listening, and Eleanor saw tears on Caleb's face. He just let them fall. When the music stopped, the room was quiet for a long time. Then Aurora said, Mama used to dance with Papa to that song. Caleb cleared his throat. She sure did, every Sunday evening. Will you dance now, Papa? Adeline asked. He just shook his head. I can't. Please, Papa, Aurora pleaded. Eleanor could see the struggle in his eyes, wanting to say yes. She played the melody again, giving him a chance to step up. Caleb reached for his daughters. All right, I reckon I could try, but I'll need partners. The girls cheered and grabbed his hands, pulling him into a dance. They spun clumsily around the room, full of laughter, as Eleanor played through her own tears. It was a beautiful start. When the song was over, the girls were giggling. Caleb was actually smiling, a real smile, the deep sadness in his eyes finally lifting. Thank you, he said. He looked right at Eleanor. Thank you for bringing music back into our home. Your daughters are brave. Later that night, Caleb found Eleanor sitting on the cold porch. She was wrapped in a thick blanket, just watching the stars. You'll freeze out here, he said gently. He sat down beside her. I needed the quiet. The stars are different here than in Philadelphia. Brighter, she agreed. Just sky and land, with nothing in between. They sat in a comfortable quiet, a companionship she had grown to cherish. Can I ask you something? Caleb's voice was soft. Of course. When you play the piano, he asked, where does your mind go? You look like you're a million miles away. Eleanor thought for a moment. I go home, she said. Not a place, but a feeling. my mother playing the piano. While my father worked in his shop, it was the feeling of safety, of love. I lost them both in the same year. Influenza took my mother, and my father's heart just gave out. He was gone long before he passed. Caleb nodded. Grief can hollow a person out. Is that what happened to you after Sarah? She asked quietly. He was quiet for a long time. For a while, he finally admitted. There were days I couldn't see the point. The girls missed their mama, and the ranch was falling apart. I just couldn't make myself care. So what changed? Aurora climbed on the barn roof. A small smile touched his face. I was moping in the house when Mrs. Chen came running in screaming. I ran out and saw my little girl on that roof looking down at me. She said, "I can see heaven from here. I'm going to find Mama." Eleanor's heart just broke. Oh, Caleb. I scrambled up there faster than I ever moved. I got her down and held her, and realized my girls were hurting just as bad as I was. They needed their father back, not some ghost. "So you started showing up," she said, one foot in front of the other. He turned to her, his eyes reflecting the starlight. "Then you came along, and for the first time in 18 long months, just being here wasn't a chore." His words just hung there in the cold air. Eleanor knew she ought to say something safe. Instead, she reached out and took his hand. "I'm glad I came too." His fingers felt so warm and strong in hers. "Eleanor, I got something to say, but I'm worried it'll ruin everything between us." Her heart was just pounding in her chest. "Say it anyway." He took a deep breath. "I'm falling for you. I tried not to, telling myself you deserve better than a broken man. A widower with 2 wild girls and a ranch that barely makes ends meet. But when I see you with them, every time you smile or when I hear you playing that piano," he just shook his head. "I can't help myself. I'm fallen and I don't know how to stop." Eleanor's eyes welled with tears. She thought of Thomas. She remembered his pretty words and his empty promises. That awful telegram that shattered her world. She knew all the reasons she should be careful and just run. But then she pictured Caleb dancing with his daughters. She thought of Aurora on the roof and sweet Adeline wanting to be her hand warmer. "Then don't stop," she whispered. "Just keep on falling." Caleb stared at her, like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Eleanor, I'm scared too. The last man I trusted broke my heart with just 11 words in a telegram. I swore I'd never give anyone that power over me again. But," she squeezed his hand tighter, "you are not Thomas. You are nothing like him. And she took a shaky breath. "I'm falling us too." He gently cupped her face in his rough hand. "Can I kiss you?" Eleanor answered by leaning in to close the space between them. His lips were warm, tasting of coffee. The kiss started out so tender, then it got deeper as all those lonely months came pouring out. When they finally pulled apart, they were both out of breath. "Welcome," Caleb said, his voice a little rough. "I reckon that answers that." Eleanor gave a real surprised laugh. "What question?" "If you felt the same as I do." He rested his forehead against hers. "I've wanted to do that since the first night you sang my girls to sleep." "That long?" "That long." They sat there together in the cold, sharing the blanket, and Eleanor felt something she'd given up on. Hope. It was a real, solid, and terrifying kind of hope. The next few days felt different between them. There were stolen glances, brushes of fingers passing the salt, and smiles that held new secrets. The twins noticed right away. "Papa, why are you whistling?" Aurora asked. "You never whistle." "Can a man whistle if he's happy?" Aurora narrowed her eyes. "You're acting funny. Don't you think, Adeline?" Adeline nodded real serious-like. "Very funny. He keeps smiling at Miss Eleanor. His face is all red. Maybe he's just happy spring is coming." "It is February," Aurora said. "That is a long way off." "Well, maybe it is something else then." "Now eat." But the girls were not giving up that easy. Later that day, during their writing lesson, Aurora put down her pen. She stared right at Eleanor. "Do you love my papa?" Eleanor's hand jumped, making a big ink blot. "That is a mighty personal question." "I know, but do you?" Adeline stopped writing too, watching her just as hard. Eleanor took a deep breath. These children deserve the truth. I care for your father a great deal, she said, and for both of y'all. But do you love him like married folks do? It is complicated. Grown-ups say that when they will not answer, Aurora grumbled. Eleanor set her own pen down. You are right, I am, Tori. Your father and I are still figuring things out. It takes a little time to be sure about big things like love. Did you take time with that other fella you were going to marry? Adeline asked. The one who sent that ugly telegram? The question stung, but Eleanor held steady. I thought I did, but I was plain wrong about him. That is why I am being more careful. Aurora thought about it. Papa would never send a mean telegram. He is not that kind of man. I know. So why the wait? Because I am scared, Eleanor thought to herself. The last man I trusted tossed me aside like I was nothing. I cannot survive being broken like that again. But she could not say that to these girls who had already lost so much. Because love is a big decision, she said. And big decisions need a lot of careful thought. Aurora seemed to understand. Well, just think a little faster. We want you to stay with us or, us forever. Eleanor's heart felt full. I want that too, darling. But the peace of those weeks was about to be shattered. It happened on a gray February afternoon. She was in the kitchen, making biscuits with Mrs. Chen. Suddenly, she heard a horse coming in hot. Caleb was out checking a fence from a recent storm. He was not supposed to be back yet. At the window, she saw him ride in, his face set like stone. Something is wrong, she said, already heading for the door. Caleb was off his horse in a flash. He spotted Eleanor and marched toward her, his eyes pure fire. Caleb, what on earth happened? Where are the girls? In the parlor, practicing their letters. Come with me, we have to talk right now. He led her to his study and shut the door tight. She had never seen him this angry, his jaw clenched. A vein was throbbing in his temple. You are scaring me. What is wrong? He pulled a paper from his coat. He pushed it at her. This was at the general store. Jenkins made sure I got it right away. She looked at the paper. It was an old Cheyenne Gazette. Caleb had circled an article on page 3. Her blood ran cold when she read the words, Wealthy businessman seeks missing bride, Mr. Thomas Welling. The bank put out a notice for his bride, Miss Eleanor Mitchell. She was due in Cheyenne on December 15th for their wedding, but she never showed. Welling fears foul play and is offering a reward. He's begging for any information to bring his beloved fiancée home. He calls her the love of his life, a woman of fine character. Eleanor's hands were shaking. This is all lies, she whispered. He's the one who rejected me. I kept the telegram. Caleb's voice was hard. I believe you, but now the whole territory has read his story. Thomas Welling is a rich man, playing the part of a grieving lover. Caleb tossed the paper in the fire. Someone's going to tell him where you are. The room spun. But why? He didn't want me. He found someone else. Maybe she left him, or maybe he just can't stand losing. Caleb's eyes were blazing. What I know is that I'm not letting him get anywhere near you or my daughters. Caleb, I can't drag you into this. If he has connections, you're not dragging me anywhere. You're family, and we protect our family. Eleanor finally broke down, all her fear and confusion pouring out. Caleb held her while she sobbed. I thought I was finally free of him. You will be, I promise. How can you? You don't know what he's like. He looked her in the eyes. I know what I'm like. No one will hurt you. She wanted to believe him with all her heart, but the fear was too deep. She felt her new life was about to come crashing down. The next 2 weeks were tense. Caleb added more locks to the doors. His ranch hands watched for strangers. Eleanor stayed inside the house. The twins sensed something was wrong. Adeline became clingy. Why are you scared, Miss Eleanor? Adeline asked one night. You keep looking out the windows, and you hold us extra tight now. Eleanor's throat tightened. Children just see everything. I'm not afraid you'll disappear, she said gently. I'm just being careful. Careful of what? Eleanor hesitated. Some people from my old life. Don't you worry, your papa is keeping us safe. But Adeline's face was serious. Is it that mean telegram man, the one you were supposed to marry? She asked. Yes. Why does he want you now? I wish I knew, sweetheart. Sometimes folks just don't make sense. Adeline was quiet, then said, If he comes here, I'll tell him to get. I'll say Miss Eleanor is our mama now, and you can't have her. Tears welled in Eleanor's eyes. Well, aren't you the bravest girl? She kissed Adeline's forehead, then went to check on Aurora, who was just playing possum. I heard about the mean man, Aurora said, her eyes still closed. Eleanor sighed deeply. You were supposed to be asleep. Listening ain't sleeping, Aurora said, sitting up. Miss Eleanor, if that man makes you go away, are you coming back? The question felt like a punch to the gut. I'm not fixing to go anywhere. But what if you have to? Eleanor sat on the bed and took her small hand. Listen here, I am not leaving this family. No matter what happens or who comes looking, I am staying right here. You understand? Aurora studied her face, then finally gave a nod. Good, now get to sleep. As Eleanor reached the door, Aurora's voice stopped her. Miss Eleanor? I reckon my mama in heaven sent you to us. She knew we needed you. The words nearly knocked her off her feet. She gripped the door frame to stay steady. That's a beautiful thought, honey. It's not a thought. I know it, Aurora said and laid back down. Good night, Mama Eleanor. Eleanor made it to her room just before the sobs came. She covered her mouth to quiet the sound. Mama Eleanor. That was the first time she cried from fear and from a joy so big it hurt. When she finally stopped, a new strength settled in her. Thomas Welling was not going to take this from her. She had a home, a family, and she would fight tooth and nail to keep them. 3 nights later, a sharp knock rattled the front door at midnight. Eleanor was in Caleb's study, reading. Caleb had dozed off in his chair, worn thin from worry and stand-in watch every night. The knock was demanding. That wasn't a friend. Caleb snapped awake, his hand immediately finding the rifle beside him. Stay put, he ordered Eleanor. He walked to the door, rifle in hand. Eleanor heard the lock turn, the hinges groan, and then voices. Then she heard a voice that made her blood run cold. Good evening, I'm looking for my fiancée, Miss Eleanor Mitchell. I have reason to believe she is here. And Thomas Welling had found her. Eleanor froze, her heart hammering against her ribs as she hid against the study wall. Through a crack in the door, she saw Caleb's broad frame blocking the entrance. There's no one here by that name, Caleb said flatly. I think there is. Folks in town saw a woman who matches her description. Dark hair, gray eyes, about 5'4", showed up distressed before Christmas. You must be mistaken. No, I do not think I am. Thomas's voice was smooth as silk and just as cold. Mr. Thornton, I want no trouble. Eleanor is not well. She gets paranoid and imagines things. She may have told you awful stories, but her mind is playing tricks on her, I assure you. Eleanor's hands clenched tight. Such awful lies. I have only ever tried to help her, Thomas said. She needs a doctor's care. Keeping her here and feeding her fantasies is wrong. You are doing more harm than good. After a long silence, Caleb's voice was quiet. I have seen the telegram you sent, the one that said marriage canceled, found someone better. Does that seem like something a caring man would write? Thomas paused, his calm expression finally cracking. I have no idea what you are talking about. I sent no telegram. She showed it to me. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. Then she faked it. I told you she is unstable. She is capable of anything. Get off my property. Caleb's voice was low and full of danger. Now, Mr. Thornton, I am trying to be reasonable. I have a legal claim to that woman. She is my fiancée. She is nothing of the sort. She is a free woman who chose to be here. And I am telling you one last time to get off my land before I make you. There was a shuffle. Then Thomas's voice turned hard. This is not over. I will be back with the sheriff. And papers. You cannot keep my property. She is not property. She is a human being. And if you call her that again, you will answer to me. Footsteps retreated and a horse whinnied. The sound of hoofbeats faded away. Caleb shut the door and bolted it. His face was pale. You heard that? Eleanor appeared from the study, shaking. Every word. Caleb, he is coming back with the sheriff. The sheriff is a good man. He will listen. But Thomas is a rich man. He knows people. Caleb went to her and held her shoulders. Eleanor, Look at me. She met his eyes. I do not care about his money or his friends. I do not care if he brings the whole government right to my door. I am not letting him take you. I will fight for you with my last breath. I cannot ask you to do that. The girls, the ranch. You are not asking. I am telling you. His grip tightened. I love you, Eleanor Mitchell. I will not lose you to some smooth-talking snake who treats women like they are a possession. Eleanor stared at him. He had finally said the three words. The same three words she had been too afraid to say herself. You love me? I love you, Eleanor. I have for weeks, but I was too scared to say it. He held her face. I am done being scared. That man is coming back. And when he does, he will find a woman who is loved and protected by a family that will not let her go. Tears streamed down her face. I love you too. Lord help me, I love you too. Caleb kissed her with all his heart. When they parted, she whispered, what are we going to do? Tomorrow we ride to town and talk to the sheriff. We will show him the telegram and tell him everything. He paused, his eyes full of resolve. Then I am going to ask you properly, in the daylight, with the girls as witnesses. Ask me what? To marry me, to make this family official in the eyes of the law. He met her gaze. Will you think on it? She did not hesitate. Yes, my answer is yes to all of it. They held one another as a dangerous man plotted his return somewhere out in the night. But in that moment, they were a team, ready to face whatever came their way. Dawn arrived far too soon. Eleanor had barely slept, her mind a storm of fear and plans. She found Caleb in the kitchen, already dressed, with 2 hot cups of coffee on the table. Mrs. Chen is staying with the girls, he said, knowing her first worry. And the ranch hands are keeping watch. Nobody gets near this house. Eleanor nodded, her stomach in knots. She took the coffee but could not taste it. I cannot eat, she said softly. Caleb understood and did not push. The 2-hour ride to town was silent, each lost in thought. Eleanor clutched the telegram, the paper that had upended her life but led her here. Today, that same piece of paper might be her salvation. The sheriff's office was a small wooden building. Its sign creaked in the wind. Sheriff James Holloway was a weathered man in his 50s, known for being fair. He looked up as they walked in, his brow furrowed at the worry on their faces. Caleb Thornton, it has been a while. His gaze shifted to Eleanor. And you must be the young woman everyone is talking about. Eleanor Mitchell, she said, her voice steady. And I need your help, Sheriff. He motioned to the chairs. Sit down. Tell me what is going on. For the next hour, Eleanor told him everything, from the letters to the awful telegram. She watched his face as he read the crumpled message. After a long quiet, he finally spoke. That is quite a story, Miss Mitchell. Every word is true. I believe you when he said. He set the paper on his desk. I also had a visit from Mr. Welling this morning, demanding my help. Get his runaway fiancé. Eleanor's heart just stopped. I told him folks are not cattle. You cannot just round them up. If he has a legal claim, he can use the law. Caleb leaned in. What kind of claim could he have? Holloway sighed. Well, that is the problem. He says that Miss Mitchell signed a binding marriage contract before she ever left Philadelphia. It obligates her to the wedding. That is a lie, Eleanor said. I never signed a thing. He has a document with your signature. Then it is a forgery. Our engagement was just an understanding. Nothing more. Holloway held up his hands. I believe you, ma'am, but belief is not proof. If Welling takes this to court, it will get real messy. How messy? Caleb asked, his voice low. A judge could order you to return to Cheyenne for a hearing. You could be legally forced to stand before a judge to defend yourself. Eleanor felt the room spin. So, he can legally force me to go back to him? Not to marry him, but he could drag this out in court for months and ruin your good name. He could make your life miserable. Holloway shook his head. Rich men with good lawyers cause a world of hurt, even when they are wrong. Caleb's jaw was set tight. There must be something we can do. There is. Holloway looked right at Eleanor. If Miss Mitchell was already a married woman, Welling's claim would be worthless. That contract would be null and void. Caleb turned to Eleanor, his eyes fierce. Then marry me. Today. Right now. Eleanor, I plan to ask you properly. with flowers and the girls watching. But we do not have time. We can celebrate right later. He took her hands. Eleanor Mitchell, I love you more than I ever thought I could love again. Will you marry me? Be my wife, the mother to my daughters, my partner in everything? Tears welled in Eleanor's eyes. This was not the moment she had imagined, but it was real and it was everything she needed. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I will marry you. Holloway cleared his throat. Reverend Patterson is just down the road. I can send for him now. Caleb never took his eyes off Eleanor. Do it. 20 minutes later, Eleanor was in the sheriff's office. She held Caleb's hand while Reverend Patterson performed the simplest wedding she had ever seen. There were no flowers, no music, just Sheriff Holloway standing as their witness. Eleanor wore her borrowed dress and Caleb his work clothes, dust still on his boots. It was nothing like the wedding she had dreamed of. It was absolutely perfect. Do you, Caleb James Thornton, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife, in good times and bad, till death do you part? I do. Caleb's voice was steady. With all my heart, I do. Then he asked Eleanor if she would take him, to be her lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold, for better or worse, in sickness and in health. Till death do you part? Eleanor met Caleb's kind blue eyes. That had only shown her kindness. I do, the Reverend declared. Then by the power vested in me, by the territory of Wyoming, I pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Caleb pulled Eleanor close and kissed her, sealing every promise for their future together. When they parted, Sheriff Holloway had the marriage certificate ready. Sign here, you two. I'll file it right away. By the time Welling comes back, you will be Mrs. Caleb Thorne, and his contract will be absolutely worthless. With a shaking hand, Eleanor signed her new name, Eleanor Grace Thorne, her new life. Caleb signed, then pulled her close. We need to go home and tell the girls. Eleanor nodded. She was still taking it all in. They'll be so surprised. They will be thrilled. They have been calling you Mama Eleanor for weeks. Now it is official. The ride back home felt different. Eleanor kept looking at the simple gold band he had bought. It meant everything. She was married. She was safe. She was home. The twins ran out when they heard the wagon. Mrs. Chen followed, her sharp eyes seeing that something had changed between Caleb and Eleanor. Papa, Miss Eleanor, you were gone forever, Aurora cried, hugging Caleb. Adeline reached for Eleanor. Caleb lifted Aurora and smiled right at his new wife. Should we tell them? He asked. Eleanor nodded, holding Adeline tight. Caleb's voice was full. Girls, Miss Eleanor and I got married in town. She is my wife now, for real. Aurora's eyes got big. Like a real husband and wife? Just like that. She is your mama now. Adeline's voice trembled. For real and forever? Eleanor knelt down to their level. For real and forever, my darlings, I am your mama now, and nothing will ever change that. The twins burst into happy tears, throwing their little arms around Eleanor's neck. She held them tight, crying with them. I told you, Aurora wept. I told you, Mama in heaven sent you to us. Maybe she did, sweetheart, Eleanor whispered. Mrs. Chen wiped her eyes. About time, she muttered, but she was smiling. This family needed some good news. That night, after their girls were asleep, they sat on the porch, sharing the familiar blanket. But everything was different now. I'm sorry it was not the wedding you deserved. No fuss at all, Caleb said softly. Eleanor rested her head against his shoulder. This was the perfect wedding for me. Simple, real, and with the man I love. Still, once this trouble with Welling is done, I want a proper ceremony with the girls. I want all our neighbors to see how proud I am that you're my wife. I would like that. They sat in a comfortable silence, just listening to the ranch settle down for the night. Do you reckon he'll give up? Eleanor asked. Caleb's arm tightened around her. Hard to say. Men like that hate losing, but he has no legal claim on you now. If he tries anything, he'll have to go through me. I'm just sorry you're in this mess. Your problems are my problems now. That's what being married means. He kissed her head. And you are worth every bit of it. 2 days later, Thomas Welling showed up with the magistrate. Eleanor was teaching the twins their letters when she heard the horses. Her blood ran cold. She saw Thomas in the yard, looking handsome and confident as always. Caleb came out from the barn, rifle in hand, his ranch hands right behind him. That's far enough, Welling. Thomas smiled. I am not here to cause any trouble. I brought Magistrate Crawford to resolve this peacefully and by the law. The nervous little magistrate clearly wished he was somewhere else. Mr. Thornton, I have papers here suggesting Miss Mitchell broke a binding marriage contract. That's Mrs. Thornton, Caleb interrupted. The magistrate just blinked at him. She is my wife. We were married 3 days ago. I have the certificate right here. Thomas's face went from pale to red with fury. Impossible. She was bound to me. She was a free woman who made her own choice. And she chose me, Caleb said. Eleanor stepped onto the porch, her heart pounding but her voice steady. Thomas, she saw the mask slip, revealing the rage and pride hiding behind his smile. Eleanor, I was so worried about you when you never arrived at the station. Don't, she said, her voice like ice. Don't pretend you care. I have your telegram. The one saying you had found someone better, leaving me stranded and humiliated. I never sent any telegram, he lied. Liar, Eleanor said, her hands shaking. She forced herself to stand tall. It is in your own handwriting, with your signature. She pulled the paper from her pocket and gave it to the magistrate. Please read this. Marriage canceled, found someone better. Signed Thomas Welling. The magistrate stared at it. He showed the paper to Thomas. Is this your signature? No, that is a forgery. Really? It's a dead ringer for the signature on that contract you showed me. Thomas sputtered. She must have copied it. That woman is unhinged, I tell you. I never saw your signature until you showed up here, Eleanor said coolly. How could I have copied it? The magistrate looked deeply uncomfortable. Your story has holes, Mr. Welling. She is playing tricks on all of you. That's enough, Caleb said, stepping forward. You've said your piece. Now I'll say mine. Eleanor is my wife. That is legal and final. Any claim you thought you had is finished. You come near her or my daughters, you even look at them wrong. And I will end this. Do you understand? Thomas seethed. You can't threaten me. I will have you arrested. For what? For defending my family on my own land? The sheriff knows the truth. The whole territory will hear how you tried to use lies and forgeries to trap a married woman. Your name will be mud. I am Thomas Welling, he shouted. Then you best leave now and never return. The two men stared each other down. Behind Thomas, his hired hands looked nervous. Caleb's men stood ready. Thomas was the one who looked away first. This is not over, he snarled. Oh, yes it is, Eleanor's voice rang out. I built a future in my head with you, Thomas, and you just threw me away. But you did not destroy me. You set me free to find a truly good man. She walked off the porch, right up to him, stopping only a few feet away. You expected to find a broken woman to control, but I am not broken. I am stronger than ever. You will never have power over me again. His face was full of hate, but you could see the fear. You'll regret this, he spat. My only regret is believing you. Eleanor turned her back on him completely. She walked back to Caleb, who put his arm around her. Together, they watched. Thomas Welling got on his horse and rode away, his men trailing right behind him. Once they were gone, her knees gave way. Caleb caught her and held her close. You were amazing, he whispered. Yeah. I was just terrified, she answered. Couldn't tell. You were a queen. She managed a shaky little laugh. I have never spoken to anyone like that. Well, it suits you. The twins ran out. Mama Eleanor, did you send that mean man away? Aurora asked, practically bouncing. Is he gone for good? Adeline wondered. Eleanor knelt and pulled them into a hug. Yes, darlings, he is gone for good. He is never going to bother us again. Because I am your mama now, and I am staying right here with you and your papa forever. That night, after the twins were asleep and Mrs. Chen had turned in, Caleb and Eleanor sat together by the fire, finally alone as husband and wife. The last few days had been too tense for anything but restless sleep. How are you feeling? Caleb asked. He traced patterns on her hand. Relieved, exhausted, and happy, she leaned into him. Like I've been carrying a heavy weight and finally set it down. You were incredible today. I was just channeling you and Sarah, she told him. Caleb looked at her with curiosity. I thought about all the stories you told me. I imagined what a fierce mother she was. I just did what I thought she would do to protect her children. Eleanor smiled. Caleb's eyes glistened with tears. She would have loved you, you know. So grateful you came to us. I think about her a lot. I wonder if she is watching, if she approves. She is watching, I am sure of it, he said, kissing her temple. And she approves, how could she not? They sat quietly watching the flames dance. I have something for you, Caleb said. He pulled a small velvet pouch from his pocket. I was going to give you this when I proposed. Everything just happened so fast, but I want you to have it now, he said. Eleanor opened the pouch and found a delicate gold locket. Inside was a portrait of Sarah. That was hers, Caleb said quietly. She wore it every day. It has her mother's hair inside. Sarah always said it kept her mother close to her heart. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. Caleb, I cannot. Yes, you can. You are the keeper of her children now, her memory. He took the locket and clasped it around her neck. She would want you to have it. I do too. Eleanor touched the locket on her chest. I will treasure it always. I know you will. Caleb pulled her close. Thank you, Eleanor, for finding us, for loving us when we were broken. Thank you for seeing me at that station, for taking a chance on a woman in a ruined dress. It was the best decision I ever made. Eleanor looked up at this man, her whole world. I love you, Caleb Thornton. I love you too, Eleanor Thornton. He smiled. There was no sadness in his eyes, just pure bright love. Welcome to the family. Outside, the wind died down. The first stars appeared in the vast Wyoming sky as one of the twins murmured in her sleep. By the warm fire, Eleanor, once a rejected bride, finally felt at home. She closed her eyes, letting real happiness wash over her at last. Spring came on slow, melting the snow. Eleanor watched the change from the kitchen window, her hand resting on her growing belly. 3 months had passed since Thomas Welling left in shame. Just as Caleb figured, word of his deceit ruined his reputation. Eventually, he left Wyoming for good. Eleanor never gave him another thought. Mama Eleanor, are you listening? Aurora's voice pulled her from her thoughts. Pardon me, darling, what was that? Adeline and I want to help in the garden. Mrs. Chen says we are big enough to plant seeds now. Eleanor smiled at her daughter. That's a wonderful idea. We'll need all the help we can get. Aurora beamed and ran off. At 7 years old, her wild heart had softened with a sense of peace. She was not climbing roofs or testing folks anymore. Adeline appeared in the doorway, clutching that old rag doll Eleanor had mended for her. Now it was worn even thinner by love. Mama Eleanor, is Papa coming home? He ought to be. He's just checking on the new calves. Adeline nodded, climbing a kitchen chair to watch Eleanor cook. She was quieter than her sister, but the sadness that once lived in her eyes was finally gone. Yes, darling? When the baby comes, will you still have time for us? Eleanor put down her knife. She turned to face Adeline, ready for the question she knew was coming. It was a fear she knew both girls carried deep down. Come here, sugar. Adeline walked right into Eleanor's embrace, and Eleanor held her close. Do you remember my promise that my heart would always have room for you? Adeline nodded against her chest. Well, that will never change, not ever. This baby is just adding to our family. You and Aurora are my daughters. I love you all the same. Adeline pulled back, her eyes full of seriousness. Promise? I promise, cross my heart. A little smile touched Adeline's lips. Can we help name the baby? Absolutely. We will decide as a family. Hoofbeats announced Caleb was home. Adeline ran to greet him. Eleanor followed slowly, a hand on her aching back. Caleb dismounted, swung Adeline up for a kiss, and then his eyes found Eleanor's. He was right there. How are you feeling? Fine, just tired. He saw right through her. You're pale. Have you been resting? I rest plenty. Mrs. Chen tells me different. Eleanor shot a look toward the kitchen. Traitor. The old cook laughed. Someone has to. Caleb led her toward the house. Inside, you need to sit. I will finish lunch. You will burn it. I am better. Not yesterday. That was different. Still, she let him settle her into the big chair by the window. He brought tea and a footstool, making her heart swell. You do not have to hover. I want to. He knelt, his hand on her belly. This baby is a miracle. After Sarah, I never thought I would want another child, but now, his blue eyes met hers. You gave me back my life, you know. She stroked his hair. This felt so right. 6 months ago, she had nothing. Now she was a wife and a mother-to-be. You gave me my life back, too, she whispered. I was so broken. I never thought I would trust or love again. Now I cannot imagine life before you. She kissed him gently. I love you, Caleb Thornton. So much. I love you too, Eleanor. My wife. My home. The twins laughed outside. They both smiled. Go help Mrs. Chen with lunch, she urged. She pushed him gently. I will rest. I promise. He kissed her and left. Eleanor was left with her thoughts in the warm spring sun. She touched Sarah's locket at her throat. Thank you, she thought, for your children, your husband, and this life I get to continue. She hoped Sarah could hear her. Their wedding party was in late April, when the wildflowers bloomed and the days were long and golden. Eleanor said it was not needed, but Caleb insisted on a real celebration. The twins were thrilled, and Mrs. Chen even had dress opinions. You deserve a real wedding, he insisted, with the whole town watching, with music, dancing, and our girls throwing flowers. I have all I want. This is my gift to you. Let me show you off. And so Eleanor stood. Parlor of the Thornon Ranch in a simple white dress Mrs. Chen had made just for her. The sweet old cook admitted she started it the day Eleanor decided to stay. Aurora and Adeline were her flower girls, wearing matching blue dresses and ribbons. They scattered petals with great care as Eleanor walked toward Caleb. The whole community came, neighbors, town folks, and Sheriff Holloway with his wife. Reverend Patterson, who first married them in a hurry, was there to do it right this time. But Eleanor only had eyes for Caleb, who stood waiting with happy tears on his face. This time, when the Reverend asked if she would take this man to be her husband, Eleanor's voice was clear and strong. I do, with all my heart. I truly do. And when Caleb kissed her, the entire room cheered for them. The celebration was a joy, with music and dancing well into the night. Eleanor felt more happiness than she had ever imagined possible. Later, she stood with Sheriff Holloway, watching Caleb spin the girls around. You've done a remarkable thing here, Mrs. Thornton, the sheriff said softly. I've known Caleb for 15 years, saw him build this ranch and start his family. And I watched him almost fall apart when he lost his Sarah. After she passed, I thought we'd lost him too. The light in him was gone. Eleanor watched her husband laughing with their daughters, his face so full of life. And now he's the man he was meant to be. Maybe even better. You saved this family, Mrs. Thornton, he told her. Don't you forget it. Eleanor blinked back tears. They saved me right back. I know, he said. That's the beauty of it. Later, after the twins were asleep, she and Caleb stood together on the porch. Happy? Caleb asked, his arms wrapped around her. More than I have words for. Good, because my plan is to keep you that way for the rest of our lives. He rested his chin on her head. Eleanor, can I tell you something? Anything, she whispered. The day I found you at that station, I wasn't looking for a wife. I was just a desperate man trying to keep his family from falling to pieces. But when I saw you standing there, so broken but so strong, something in me just knew. Before we even spoke a word, I knew you were going to change everything for us. He cupped her face. Call it a gut feeling, or call it Sarah sending you. All I know is I found you. My life began the day you got off that train, and I will spend all my days thanking God for that telegram, for everything that brought you to me. Even the pain, especially the pain, because it led you right here. He kissed her gently. This is where you belong. The baby came on a warm June morning as the sun rose over the mountains. The whole ranch was still and quiet. Eleanor had been in labor for hours, with Mrs. Chen and the midwife helping her. Caleb paced the floor like a caged lion. The twins sat on the stairs, too worried to play. Papa, why is it taking so long? Aurora asked yet again. Babies come when they're ready, darling, not before. But Mama Eleanor is hurting. Caleb winced. He could hear her too, and each sound was like a blade to his heart. She's being mighty brave, he said, trying to soothe himself and his girls. Adeline had been quiet. Now she spoke. When our first mama had us, was it like this? Caleb's throat got tight. Yes, honey, it was. Was she scared? A little. But she was excited for you and Aurora. She already loved you so much. Adeline thought about that. I think Mama Eleanor loves this baby already too. I know she does. Then a new cry cut the silence. It was not Eleanor's voice, but a small, high wail, the sound of a newborn baby. Caleb shot to his feet. The twins jumped up right behind him. The door opened and there was Mrs. Chen, her face all smiles. It's a boy, a healthy, beautiful boy. Caleb nearly fell. And Eleanor? Tired but perfect. She's asking for you. Caleb walked into the bedroom, not wanting to disturb the peace. Eleanor was propped on pillows, looking pale but glowing. She held a small bundle. It was wrapped in a white blanket. Come meet your son, she whispered. Caleb walked to the bed and looked down. A tiny face peeked out. Dark hair like Eleanor's, and blue eyes just like his own. He was a perfect mix of them both. He's beautiful, Caleb breathed. He is, and he looks like you. Boy, he has your chin. Poor little fella, Caleb laughed through his tears. Can I hold him? Eleanor passed the baby into his arms. Caleb held his son like he was the most precious thing on earth, and he was. Hello, little one, he murmured. Welcome to the family. The twins peeked through the doorway, eyes wide. Come on in, girls, Eleanor called softly. Come meet your brother. Aurora and Adeline tiptoed inside, staring at the baby. He's so tiny, Aurora whispered. He'll grow, Eleanor promised her. Adeline touched the baby's little hand with one finger. He grabbed it right away. His tiny fingers wrapped around hers. He likes me, Adeline said with wonder. Of course he does. You're his big sister. Aurora studied the baby closely. What's his name? Caleb and Eleanor shared a look. They had talked about names but hadn't picked one for sure. We thought we'd let you girls help us choose, Eleanor said. The twins started whispering together. At last, Aurora spoke up. We reckon we should name him Daniel, just like Grandpa. Caleb's daddy had passed on 3 years back. Sarah and the twins remembered him real clear. Daniel. Caleb tried it out loud. Daniel James Thornon. James was my pa's name, Eleanor said quiet-like. Aurora nodded. Daniel James Thornon. Feels right. That's a strong cowboy name, Caleb chuckled through tears. Sure is. The twins got a few more minutes before Mrs. Chen sent them off to bed. Then it was just Caleb, Eleanor, and their newborn son alone in the quiet house. Caleb sat on the bed's edge, cradling Daniel. Thank you, he said softly. For what? Eleanor asked. For everything. Our son, our girls, and bringing me back to family when I thought that part of my life was done. Eleanor grabbed his hand. You gave me that same gift. When I got off that train, I had nothing at all. No home, no kin, no future. She looked around the room, the baby safe in Caleb's arms, the twins' drawings taped to the walls, the locket round her neck, the ring on her hand. Now I have it all. 2 years later, Eleanor sat on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky with gold and pink. Daniel toddled in the yard, chasing his sisters, who let him catch them now and then. Caleb came out from the barn, wiping his hands on his trousers. He scooped Daniel up, plopped the laughing boy on his shoulders, and headed for the house. Papa, tell Daniel to quit pulling my hair, Aurora yelled. Daniel, don't pull your sister's hair, Caleb said. He's not listening. He's just 2. He don't listen to folks much yet. Caleb climbed the porch steps, sitting down next to Eleanor, Daniel still laughing on his shoulders. Good day? Eleanor asked. Better now. He kissed her cheek. All the new calves look healthy. Looks like a good year coming. I'm glad, she smiled. The whole family sat quietly watching the kids play. This was Eleanor's favorite moment. The golden hour when work's done and the family's all here. I was thinking, Caleb said slow, how different things are now. 3 years back, I was just getting by, holding the ranch together and keeping the girls alive. I couldn't see happiness again. Eleanor laced her fingers with his. And now? Now I can't imagine life any other way. He looked at her, blue eyes soft with love. You made that happen. You walked into our lives and changed everything. We changed each other, Eleanor said. Maybe so, but you were brave. I was stuck in my sorrow like ice. You were the one who warmed me up. Eleanor grinned, remembering. You took a chance on a stranger in a ruined wedding dress. Not many men would do that. And not many women would have said yes, Caleb laughed. Daniel had drifted off on Caleb's shoulders. The twins were lost in a make-believe game with horses and a princess rescue mission. Mama Eleanor, Aurora called, will you be the princess we're rescuing? I'm maybe too comfy to be rescued right now. Princesses ain't supposed to be comfy. They're supposed to be in towers. The girls galloped up the porch on pretend horses to rescue her. My heroes, Eleanor said, kissing each of them. You were stuck in a tower, Aurora said. Adeline agreed. Caleb was laughing silently. Baby Daniel slept right through it. This, she thought, this is exactly where I am meant to be. Not in fancy Boston society, not in some loveless marriage, but here on this ranch in Wyoming, with her husband, with 3 sweet children, a family built from 2 broken hearts. Later that night, Eleanor stood looking out the bedroom window. Caleb came up behind her. What are you thinking about? That old telegram. It did not destroy my life. It saved it. She turned in his arms. If Thomas hadn't rejected me, I'd be his property. I would never have found you or known our sweet children. She touched his face gently. That was the worst moment of my life. And it led me to every single one of the best moments. I tell the girls their mama in heaven sent you to us, he said softly. I believe that's true, but I also think we were always meant to be. All I know is you're mine and I'm yours, and that is forever. Eleanor rested her head against his chest, listening to his heart. I love you, Caleb Thornton. I love you, Eleanor, always. Outside, the quiet Wyoming wind whispered across the plains. Inside, their little family slept peacefully, all safe and sound. The once rejected bride closed her eyes and smiled. She was home. She had found her family. She had finally found her forever. The best stories, you see, don't end with a kiss at an altar. They end with belonging. And Eleanor, at long last, belonged.